This is WAAY 31 News at 10.
Well, if you thought today was hot, we'll get ready for warmer temperatures as well as warmer feels-like temperatures. I'll tell you all about it coming up.
A key moment tomorrow for a Madison County family seeking justice for their daughter. The plea deal they're hoping they will see become reality. And differing opinions about the airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, who's backing President Trump, and what others think he should have done along the way. Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 10. I'm Jim Abbott. Well, those pop-up showers turned into some rather strong storms for some of us this afternoon in northern Alabama and southern Tennessee. That's what's in store for the rest of this week. Well, meteorologist Lainey Pugh is tracking all that for us. And Lainey, we're definitely looking at more heat, I know that, but are other strong downpours in the mix?
Yeah, Jim, so I'm going to tell you we're definitely going to be feeling the heat as we go into the next few days, but I can't rule out that we won't see a few stronger thunderstorms as we go throughout the week. It is summertime, and it's that time of the year where we could see some heavier downpours as well as some frequent lightning, so never out of the mix for summertime. But looking at WAAY 31 triple Doppler right now, staying clear, not even a few clouds in the sky, so we'll remain clear as we go throughout the night tonight. Current temperatures into those low to mid 70s. That's where we're going to stay for overnight lows tonight. 73 here in Huntsville, staying mild and humid, but we're staying dry with some calm winds. Tomorrow is set to be yet another day with temperatures well into the 90s. 94 for Huntsville, Decatur's, Muscle Shoals, 91 in Scottsboro, 92 in Fort Payne, but our feels-like temperatures are going to be much hotter. Heat index up to 109 for our northwest counties. That's why they are under that heat advisory until 7 p.m. tomorrow. But even though you're not in that orange, doesn't mean we're not going to be hot. I'll give you an updated look on what we could feel like tomorrow in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Lainey. Well, with high temperatures expected over the next week, make sure you have a way to check the forecast. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now, and that way you can download the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. Get instant access to hour-by-hour forecasts and our 31 triple Doppler. It is free for all devices. Well, 3.5 years of legal battles for the family of Hannah Parton could come to an end tomorrow. The man accused of killing Hannah in 2021, Jacob Stevens, is being offered a plea deal. Hannah was 24 when she was killed in a drunk driving incident that also took the life of another woman and injured 5 others. Authorities say Stevens was under the influence when he caused that crash. And now Hannah's mother, Sheila Smith, says it's time for him to pay for what happened.
It seemed like every time I turned around, I was being let down. So yeah, I would say it's time. It's just time for him to start paying for what he did, what he chose to do. Nobody told him, to get behind the wheel and drive, as impaired as he was.
Now, Smith says going through a trial would just take too much of a toll on her and her family. Instead, they will offer him a plea deal of 30 years in prison. Now, there is no guarantee he will take that, and he could opt for a trial, but that hearing is set for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Good news tonight out of Albertville. Police there tell us that 15-year-old Kensley Shelton is back home now, safe and sound. She had last been seen last Monday, and in a story we aired here on WAAY 31, her parents had pleaded for her return. Again, she is now home and safe. New information now as the United States prepares for retaliatory attacks after bombing nuclear facilities in Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. is not at war with Iran, but Iran's nuclear program. The Department of Homeland Security now warning of a heightened threat environment here at home. ABC's Perry Russell has more from Washington.
The Department of Homeland Security warning of a heightened threat environment in the United States after the attack against Iran. In a bulletin issued today, DHS warning low-level cyber attacks against U.S. networks are likely.
Our forces remain on high alert and are fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation or proxy attacks, which would be an incredibly poor choice.
The Pentagon this morning detailing last night's attack called Operation Midnight Hammer, 125 aircraft involved.
This is a plan that took months and weeks of positioning and preparation.
The Pentagon says the attack started with more than 24 Tomahawk missiles launched from a U.S. submarine in the Middle East, B-2 stealth bombers taking off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, then dropping 14 bunker buster bombs weighing 30,000 pounds each. The attack focusing on 3 targets, all Iranian nuclear sites.
Initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
New satellite imagery shows the aftermath of the attack. apparent holes in the ground where the bunker buster bombs entered before exploding. The Pentagon says the attack also included misdirection, with B-2 bombers not involved in the attack flying west toward Guam, their movement trackable, while the bombers involved in the attack were flown east toward Iran, their movement not trackable. Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. is not at war with Iran, but Iran's nuclear program.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapons program. The president's been very clear about this.
Two officials tell ABC News President Trump and the president of Turkey quietly tried to arrange a meeting between U.S. and Iranian senior officials last week, but Iran's supreme leader went into hiding and could not be reached to approve the meeting. With President Trump making this decision on foreign policy, it appears he is trying to use this momentum toward his funding bill, with Trump writing online, "Great unity in the Republican Party. Now let's get this great, big, beautiful bill done." Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Governor Kay Ivey posted her reaction to the Iranian strikes this morning on X and Facebook. She wrote, "Peace through strength works. Operation Midnight Hammer worked. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump." Well, most Republicans agree with Governor Ivey, but not most Democrats. Vermont Democratic Senator Peter Welch says the U.S. entering a war with Iran does not make the U.S. more secure. And Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, speaking on Fox News Sunday today, says President Trump, quote, used horrible judgment.
I hope members of the Senate and the House will take their Article I responsibility seriously and say, you didn't even notify us, much less get an authorization. The U.S. should not be at war without a vote of Congress.
Kaine says he will push for all senators to vote on whether they are for this, quote, third idiotic Middle East war, unquote. Well, a minute ago, you heard Perry Russum reference the big, beautiful bill in Washington. The Senate should be busy this week with that domestic spending bill. State and local tax deductions, green energy tax credits, and Medicaid will be three of the biggest issues on the table. The Senate expected to take up the bill by midweek. The vote could come Thursday or Friday. Well, this evening, Governor Kay Ivey has authorized all flags may be lowered to half-staff tomorrow in Marshall County in memory of County Chairman David Reed. He suddenly passed away on Thursday, just 8 days after he was sworn in as the Marshall County Commission Chairman. Governor Ivey appointed Reed to that position on June 6th. He replaced longtime Chairman James Hutchison, who passed away on May 3rd. Reed was a graduate of Albertville High School and the University of Alabama. Well, June is Men's Health Month, a time to shine a spotlight on some of the most pressing health issues facing men today. One of those, prostate cancer, a disease that impacts hundreds of thousands each year, yet many men are still hesitant to talk about it, let alone get screened. WAAY 31 State Capitol reporter Philip Green sat down with one Alabama doctor working to change that conversation.
As men, sometimes we're not inclined to prioritize health, skipping routine checkups or putting off conversations about what's really going on. With prostate cancer, it often goes undetected until it's in a later stage, but taking that first step towards screening can make all the difference.
In terms of detection of prostate cancer, early detection is important. Yearly to biannual screening, depending on different recommendations from different medical societies. A yearly blood test to check a PSA, which means prostate-specific antigen. An elevation of that could mean that you have elevation in your risk of prostate cancer.
For many men, the signs that something might be wrong are easy to dismiss, such as tiredness or frequent bathroom trips. But those subtle symptoms can sometimes point to something much more serious.
When you're seeing symptoms from prostate cancer, it's usually later in the stages of things. So oftentimes it can be asymptomatic, and that's why getting that PSA checked is important. Problems with urination, frequency of urination, decreased strength in the stream of urination, any change from your baseline urinary habits, unexplained weight loss is also something to look out for.
With coverage you can count on, Philip Green, WAAY 31 News.
If you haven't had a screening or had one in a while, the Madison County Health Department has a day set aside to help you out. They are holding prostate cancer screenings on Tuesday, July 8th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that's at the Madison County Health Department. They are at 301 Max Luther Drive in Huntsville, and those screenings are free. Well, this week, WAAY 31 got an up-close look at Crestwood Medical Center's new robotic surgical system. It was all part of a hands-on experience to let the public see the latest technology that they're using within the hospital. Now, the experience allowed anyone to sit at the robotic console and see what it is like to use those controls during a surgery. Dr. Crestwood say there are multiple benefits when using that robot.
It helps patients go through surgery fairly quickly, and the biggest benefit is their recovery is so much less painful than traditional hysterectomies, which requires an open laparotomy, which is, in other words, a big incision in your belly. These robot patients get the benefit of having only 4 entry points and a quick recovery. They feel great so much quicker.
Now, they do stress that the robot itself is not doing the surgery. It is just used as a tool by the surgeon to complete the surgery. If all goes as planned, the United Launch Alliance will launch another Atlas V rocket in the morning at Cape Canaveral in Florida. The Atlas V will deliver the second batch of Project Kuiper satellites into space for Amazon. Project Kuiper's mission? To provide fast, reliable internet to customers around the world using a constellation of more than 3,200 low Earth orbit satellites. That launch scheduled for 5:54 our time tomorrow morning. No launch needed for a good old standby in the beverage world. How the H2O will get a little extra love tomorrow.
Temperatures are going to skyrocket into the upper 90s by Tuesday and Wednesday, but we'll be feeling a lot hotter than that. I'll have all the details coming up.
Days. Cue National Hydration Day. It is tomorrow. A reminder that drinking lots of fluids and being hydrated is one of the best things you can do for your body. You know what the experts say? Well, if you don't really enjoy the taste of water, you can always infuse it with cucumber, mint, or lemon to make it more refreshing.
Now, your WAAY 31 Storm Tracker forecast.
We need a waiter. Like I could go for that right now, you know? Have a little water with some cucumber. That would be nice and
Cucumber water is
refreshing,
so good.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
It does, and you better be drinking it
Yeah,
as we
'cause
go
we
throughout
need
the
it.
next few days. Yeah, it's going to be scorching as we go throughout the next few days. Tomorrow, our northwest counties in Alabama are under a heat advisory due to some heat indexes reaching 109 tomorrow. That's going to be our feels like temperatures, but real temperatures are going to be sitting in the 90s, and just because you aren't in the orange doesn't mean that you're not going to be seeing hot temperatures. Most of us are going to be nearing, if not exceeding, triple digits for our feels like temperatures tomorrow and much of the work week this week. So be mindful if you're going to be outdoors. Stay hydrated, take some breaks from the sun, as well as wear your sunscreen. Again, temperatures are going to skyrocket into the upper 90s Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll stay in the 90s as we go throughout much of the work week this week, as well as going into the weekend. So whoever was asking for the 90s, well, you got them, and you feel free to take them and go away because it's about to get scorching here in North Alabama. Take a look at our forecasted heat indexes for tomorrow, already sitting in the upper 90s by the morning time hours tomorrow. We'll stay there going into the afternoon. It's not until later on in the day that we could be seeing feels like temperatures 106 in Decatur, 95 in Huntsville, 99 in Scottsboro, 103 in Fayetteville. And then we'll start to cool off during the nighttime hours, but then they'll start to skyrocket again going into Tuesday morning, already feeling like the 90s by 8:30 in the morning. And then going into the afternoon, we'll start to feel like the hundreds by 3 p.m. and not until 6 p.m. we can start feeling like 109 degrees in Decatur, 108 in Fayetteville, 108 as well as Lawrenceburg, 107 in Athens. So all that to say, it's about to be really hot going into the next few days. We'll start to cool off as we go further into Tuesday night. So if you're going to be taking your furry friends for a walk, let's be mindful about their paws. Air temperatures in the mid-90s. That concrete temperature is going to be at 140 degrees. Asphalt 155, which will burn their paws. So be mindful about those midday walks. Maybe keep them on the grass or buy some shoes for them. I know my dog doesn't like shoes, but that is an option if your furry friends do like their shoes. Hot temperatures are not going to be leaving us as we go into the rest of the month of June, as well as starting off the month of July. We're going to be warmer than average. So these 90 temperatures, they are here to stay, as well as the muggy temperatures. We'll have warm temperatures as well as a lot of moisture in the air, which is going to make us feel oppressive and sticky going out the work week this week, as well as going into the next weekend. Forecast lows tonight are going to be mild. We'll be in those low to mid 70s, 60s for some of us. 70 though in Scottsboro, 68 Rainsville, as well as Skyline, 71 Athens, 73 here in Huntsville. And going over to the Shoals, we'll be sitting in those low to mid 70s for forecast highs. Going out the door tomorrow, we'll already be in the 70s, and you may just want to go ahead, grab the t-shirt, grab the umbrella, grab the hat, because we'll be warm tomorrow again, but we'll also have a chance to see some scattered showers. So umbrella is going to be important as we go throughout the day tomorrow. Temperature-wise, again, we'll be sitting in the low to mid 90s for most of us here in the Tennessee Valley. Taking a look at future radar, we'll start to see some isolated showers make their way into the forecast by noon, and it'll stay that way as we go throughout the afternoon, and then we'll start to clear off going into the evening hours. And then rinse, wash, repeat for Tuesday. Starting off dry, we'll have some isolated showers during the afternoon, and then we'll remain dry going into the rest of the evening. Again, it's that time of the year, pop-up summer showers going to remain into the forecast, so we're going to keep these rain chances as we go throughout the work week, as well as temperatures into the 90s. Going into next weekend, though, those rain chances do start to pop up back to 30%, and then into the work week next week, back to 40%. So enjoy these lower rain chances while you can, as well as temperatures. Try to enjoy them. They're going to be in the upper 90s.
Yeah, I will take them, but I wasn't the one who asked for them.
No, I wasn't either.
Yeah,
I wasn't either. Don't blame me.
Yeah, can't prove it. Can't prove it. Just ahead in an all-new Amber's, Alabama, storm tracker meteorologist Amber Kulick takes us to Ivy Green in Tuscumbia for the miracle worker. world, and it happened in North Alabama. WAAY 31's Amber Kulick takes us to Tuscumbia and the birthplace of Helen Keller in this week's Amber's Alabama.
A century later, Alabama native Helen Keller is still inspiring others by her life and her legacy. And that story started right here.
An illness just before her second birthday left Helen Keller deaf and blind, making communication nearly impossible. It was through her teacher, Ann Sullivan, that a breakthrough happened. One that would make it possible for Helen to go on to become a champion for those with disabilities. Every June and July, thousands of people from all around the world come to see the miracle worker perform just steps from where that breakthrough happened.
Bad girl.
The play also keeps this birthplace alive. Without the play happening every summer and people coming to see it from all over the world, this place would not be able to be open as a museum.
Caroline Self is the play's director and even once starred as both Helen and Anne.
All right, pump.
Everyone involved in the play devotes their entire summer to this story. They take the stage in the swelter and heat and humidity to tell Helen Keller's story.
You have to have like lots of energy, and it's like there's like a lot of emotions, and you have to like be very, very strong, and like you get very hot and tired, but you have to keep pushing through.
This year marks the 64th annual production of the play. And lately, it's not just the weather that actors have had to deal with. It's also the controversy surrounding the story.
Media and things are going around that Helen Keller's not real. That's the belief now. So whenever people come and see it on the grounds where it happened, I mean the true miracle, I really hope that people walk away and just take a minute to step or put aside the media and what they're saying about it not being true and just listen to the story.
It takes dozens of people to put this play on each summer, all in hope to keep the legacy alive.
Good girl. Yes, Helen.
The stage is set and the seats here at Ivy Green are about to be packed with lights shining down on a story of courage. I'm in Tuscumbia with coverage you can count on. Storm Tracker meteorologist Amber Kulick, WAAY 31 News.
The NBA Finals and College World Series were both decided right here on WAAY 31 today. Let's reflect on this championship Sunday next in sports.